Welcome to Land vs. Child, the top-rated educational ecological show on national television. In this program, you will learn about the exceptionally diverse organisms present within the suburbs of Montgomery, in addition to their biological importance and roles within the ecosystem. Without further ado, let's meet our hosts.
My name is Hairy Fangs, and I'm an environmental scientist and the host of Land vs. Child. I was raised by two loving parents on the streets of Beijing, China. After being exposed to years worth of air pollution and deteriorating biodiversity, I decided to move to Montgomery, New Jersey, in order to acquire a more established relationship with nature. I graduated from Montgomery University with degrees in environmental science, ecology, and geology. After graduating, however, I wanted to share my ecological prowess through founding and hosting Land vs. Child. After our first episode about the detrimentally low biodiversity in New York, we beat out a lot of top survival channels like Man vs. Wild within the first 24 hours of launch. I love Land vs. Child because it allows me to educate large masses of people about the wonders of the environment.
My name is XD. I am also an environmental scientist and have the honor of being the co-host of Land vs. Child. I grew up in the glowing city of Shanghai, right where the Yangtze River flows into the East China Sea. Despite an immense admiration for beautiful urban culture and elegant modern architecture, I grew weary at the detrimental water pollution demonstrated by the Yangtze River. As a result of industrial pollution, agricultural runoff, siltation, and loss of wetland and lakes, I became emotionally damaged by personal guilt in consuming the vast resources of urban industrialism. So I decided to move to suburban Montgomery in order to gain a better understanding of nature and make up for my previous ecological wrongdoings. I met Harry while studying at Montgomery University. We have been great friends ever since.
On Land vs. Child, Hairy Fangs and XD explore various different biomes and ecosystems in order to educate the public on ecological organisms and cycles. On this episode, Harry and XD will explore the wonders of suburban Montgomery. What will come their way? Let's find out.
Is this the right place? It looks like there's a lot of biodiversity in this area.
Yep, this is definitely it. Just take a look at the abundance of trees here. This sure is suburban Montgomery.
Alright then, let's get out here then. Be sure to watch your step, or else if you fall, you're gonna end up like my AP Bio grade after that energy quiz.
It looks like the entrance to the forest is over there. Let's check it out.
Alright. Hey, it's a new Overwatch update.
I'm doing something very educational on my phone, Harry. Don't worry.
Looks pretty good out here. Right, XD? Shoot! XD, where you at? XD!
Hey, Harry, where do you think we should turn? Harry? Where are you, Harry? Oh no, he's gone!
Oh no! Oh, this is so bad. Oh, maybe I should meet him at the end of the trail.
Hope I find him at the end of the path.
Oh! There! What's that? Whoa, I think it's a spear thistle. Yes, this is a fine spear thistle specimen. Let's go over some of the special properties it has. Spear thistles are known by the scientific name Crisium vulgare and are extremely common in New Jersey because they were introduced as an invasive species and proliferated over time. They are classified as angiosperms under the eudicot category, also known as non-magnolid dicots. Because spear thistles are angiosperms, they are flowering and have purple or white florets. Dicots in general are characterized by a prevalent taproot, ring vascular structure, and contain two cotyledons, which are basically embryonic leaves in seed-bearing plants. Dicots are extremely common and constitute over 70% of angiosperms. On more physical terms, dicots are notable for their net-like leaf vein structure. Additionally, they have floral structure with petals generally in multiples of 4 or 5. Spear thistle in particular has a lot of sharp thorn-like leaves that protect it from predators. No wonder it's naturalized in Montgomery suburbs. Spear thistle also attract pollinators like bees, which increase ecological value by increasing the rate of pollination of other flowers. Let's throw some music into this. Alright, when we think about the ecological value of spear thistles within the suburbs of Montgomery, we need to keep a few cycles in mind: the nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle, and the water cycle. For the nitrogen cycle, the spear thistles use up nitrates and use the nitrogen to make chlorophyll for photosynthesis. This process facilitates the reuptake of nitrogen from the soil into the plants. The nitrogen is then recycled by decomposers in the form of ammonium, which then returns to nitrate via nitrifying bacteria and enter the atmosphere as N2 through denitrifying bacteria. Through the carbon cycle, spear thistle is able to produce organic compounds through fixing atmospheric carbon dioxide through the Calvin cycle. Through the carbon cycle, spear thistle is able to produce organic compounds through fixing atmospheric carbon dioxide through the Calvin cycle. Through the carbon fixation, sugars are produced and used by the spear thistle. When the spear thistle needs chemical energy, it facilitates cellular respiration and uses catabolic reactions in order to oxidize the sugar, releasing CO2 and H2O as metabolic waste. This recycles carbon into the atmosphere. In terms of trophic structure, spear thistles aren't really eaten by many consumers due to their thorn-like physical structures. As a result, they are simply consumed by decomposers within the soil where their molecules are recycled for later use. Finally, with respect to the water cycle, precipitation, generally in the form of rain, provides the spear thistle with water to grow and facilitate photosynthesis. The water, however, is recycled into the atmosphere through evapotranspiration from the spear thistle. Thus, we can definitely conclude that the spear thistle adds to the ecological value of Montgomery suburbs.
I think there's some strange form of grass here. I wonder what it is. Hey, I think this is crabgrass. Crabgrass is labeled with the scientific name Digitarius sanguinalis. It is quite a common thing to find within the temperate forests of Montgomery suburbs and the grasslands. Unlike the bountiful spear thistles you can find in Montgomery suburbs, crabgrasses are monocots, while spear thistles are dicots. As you may have guessed, monocots differ from dicots in that they only have a single cotyledon and embryonic leaf. Monocots also have other properties that are quite different from dicots, such as leaves with parallel vein structure, scattered vascular bundles, and fibrous root systems. While crabgrass is considered a weed, it still has immense ecological value due to its contributions to the ecological cycles considered earlier. Crabgrass uses up nitrates converted by nitrifying bacteria for decomposers and predators
to then consume within the nitrogen cycle. Uses CO2 and releases atmospheric CO2 through O2 through photosynthesis and cellular respirations, respectively, in the carbon cycle, and facilitates evapotranspiration for the reuptake of water in the atmosphere. Crabgrass can be consumed by grass-grazing animals, where their organic material and other molecules may provide nutrition for the predator. This crabgrass further heightens the ecological value of Montgomery suburbs through its contribution as a monocrop plant.
Oh, check this out. This is my favorite tree. It's the red cedar. You know, the red cedar is known by the scientific name of Juniperus virginiana. It's also known by several common names. These include the eastern red cedar, Virginian juniper, eastern juniper, red juniper, pencil cedar, and aromatic cedar. Red cedar is classified as part of the Conifer phyta, aka or aka conifers. Now, conifers are gymnosperms, cone-bearing seed plants. They are vascular and are exceptionally woody with significantly secondary growth. Red cedar are extremely common in the East Coast and contain reddish-brown bark. And we're in the East Coast. Alright. You know, red cedars are immense trees and consequently contribute immensely to atmospheric oxygen content due to oxygen released during light-dependent reactions of photosynthesis through the splitting of a water molecule. In terms of the other cycles, red cedar contributes in the same manner as most plants through fixing CO2 in the Calvin cycle of photosynthesis in order to create G3P, and releasing CO2 through the aerobic process of cellular respiration, such as the Krebs cycle and electrotransport chain. For their water cycle, trees utilize water for photosynthesis and other processes, and release water through the process of evapotranspiration, transpiration of water from the stomata of the leaves. Trees, unlike smaller plants, typically not consumed by large animal predators. Instead, they typically die from poor soil conditions or human-induced damage. When a tree dies, it is slowly decomposed through decomposers in the soil for molecular recycling, wherein nitrogen and carbon contents will be reused. Needless to say, red cedars add immense ecological value towards the suburban Montgomery ecosystem by producing oxygen for us to breathe. Using and releasing CO2 in the carbon cycle and providing atmospheric water through evapotranspiration.
What's that? One of my buddies at Montgomery University told me an environmental joke once. I didn't find it very funny. This is a marginal fern, also known as Dryopteris marginalis. Ferns are a special type of vascular plant and are called pterophyta. Unlike the plants we've talked about, however, ferns reproduce through spores instead of seeds and flowers. So I guess you could say they go through resporeduction. Ha!
Marginal ferns are found all over eastern North America. They're pretty drought resistant and are found at various altitudes. Ferns have tons of ecological value. Not only do they contribute to the carbon cycle by using CO2 in the Calvin cycle to create sugars in photosynthesis and releasing O2 in cellular respiration, contributing to atmospheric water content through evapotranspiration and utilizing nitrates within the soil in the water in the nitrogen cycle, but they also provide microhabitats for small animals, can be eaten by animals as food since they are primary producers, and filter toxins.
그대를 바라볼 때면 모든 게 멈추죠. 언제부턴지 나도 모르게였죠.
Oh, Harry, where have you been? Don't you know how much suffering and despair I had to bear for those 8 minutes we were separated? I almost died from depression because of that.
I kind of enjoyed it, to be honest.
What are you saying? Don't you remember all those years we spent together at Montgomery University?
Whoa. What do you think?
Alright. Anyways, let's talk about this plant we're both so intrigued by.
Okay. You do you, XD. Interesting.
This handsome plant is known as the North American tree ground pine and is classified under Lycophyta with the scientific name Lycopodium obscuricum. Lycophyta contain vascular plants that reproduce through shedding spores and exhibit a reproductive pattern known as alternation of generations, in which the plant cycles through a gametophyte generation N and a sporophyte generation 2N.
The most significant characteristics of lycophyte, however, are microphyls, a form of leaf that differs quite extensively from other vascular plants. Microphyls only have one unbranched strand of vascular tissue, aka vein, whereas megaphylls found in other plants have multiple veins that generally branch out multiple times throughout the leaf. The North American tree ground pine is a species of club moss and exists in rich and moist soils. All the leaves are the same size and the side shoots have round cross sections.
Harry, do you want to explain the ecological value of the tree ground pine?
Well, you do. Okay, I'll do it. In addition to the general plant contributions toward the nitrogen cycle, water cycle, carbon cycle, and trophic structures mentioned earlier with previous plants, lycophytes prevent soil erosion and promote topsoil formation, increasing the ecological value of Montgomery suburbia.
Alright, now that we're reunited, let's go explore some more things. I'm sure there's plenty of things to evaluate.
Okay. Oh look, it's a river. I wonder if this has anything to do with the water cycle.
What do you think?
Rivers are extremely important because they carry water and nutrients to all areas on the earth. In this case, Montgomery suburbia. They basically act as draining channels for surface water. And rivers are so useful for this that they drain nearly 75% of Earth's land surface. In addition to this, they provide further ecological value by providing a habitat and food for many of the Earth's organisms. It is especially useful because rivers don't stop flowing, meaning that molecules within the stream are constantly moving. Oh my! What is this?
Oh my gosh!
I didn't leave the streets of China to come to this train wreck of litter management. We have to stop this ecological disaster because it's a narrow bridge to the destruction of our ecosystem. And we must look ahead to the future of our kids. Ooh. Anyways, now that we've explored a lot of wonders of Montgomery suburbia, let's evaluate the collective ecological value of everything as we usually do at the end of Land vs. Child episodes. According to a research paper titled Changes in the Global Value of Ecosystem Services by Robert Costanza and others, there are several values of fixed ecological services rate per hectare. Let's evaluate each of these costs individually. Let's talk about the wetlands within Montgomery suburbs. According to Montgomery Township Natural Resource Inventory, the area of wetland environments within suburban Montgomery occupy an area of approximately 1,090 hectare. When this area is multiplied by the wetland dollar per hectare value offered by the research paper, wetlands total to a value of $152.8 million. This value is likely a result of the extensive biodiversity within Montgomery suburbia because of the massive aquatic vegetation it houses. They also contribute to water purification, flood control, and a carbon sink. Another key component of Montgomery suburbia is the significant farmland available for agricultural use. Farmland provides a multitude of plants, primary producers, in fact, for consumption that contributes to the survival of animals, more specifically us, humans, which are the top trophic level. Additionally, farmland provides land for the domestication of larger animals, including cows and pigs, both of which are food for other trophic levels. According to the Montgomery Township Resource Inventory, the approximate area of farmland environments and their total environmental value are 2,161 hectare and $12.03 million respectively. Yet another very large portion of Montgomery suburbia consists of grassland environments. Because of the vast quantity of grasses present within grassland environments, grasslands function as carbon sinks to alleviate greenhouse gas emissions. They do this through bolstering the carbon cycle through creating CO2 in cellular respiration as a result of the oxidation of glucose through the Krebs cycle. They then intake CO2 through the Calvin cycle for photosynthesis, where grasses fix carbon dioxide in order to produce sugars for plant nourishment. According to Montgomery Township Natural Resource Inventory, the approximate area of farmland environments and their total environmental value are 471 hectare and $1.962 million respectively. Oh my voice is getting tired. I haven't talked this much since the last bio class discussion we had. XD, you mind taking over?
Do I?
Do you or do I?
Do I? Or you do you?
You do you.
One of the biomes that you guys are probably most accustomed to is the urban environment. Urban environments possess immense collective value as a result of the extensive housing of large quantities of humans. Additionally, humans tend to value urban environments more because they live within them, heightening their societal importance and visual appeal. According to the Montgomery Township Natural Resource Inventory, the approximate area of urban environments and their total environmental value are 2,504 hectares and $16.68 million respectively. Once upon a time, two trees were having dinner, but one tree decided to hog too much of the nutrients in the soil. One tree said to the other tree, "Leave some for the rest of us." Forests are exceptionally beneficial in ecological value due to the large quantities of trees. The multitude of trees provide a ton of O2 for organisms to use in driving cellular respiration. They are also extremely beneficial in the contributions to the carbon cycle through the oxidation of glucose, which releases CO2 during the Krebs cycle. Through photosynthesis, forests synthesize sugars through utilizing light energy and electron excitation, allowing an electron from chlorophyll alpha and photosystem to enter the primary electron acceptor down an electron transport chain. generating ATP. Additionally, progression of the cycle results in a similar reaction within photosystem 1, generating NADPH as a result. NADPH and ATP are then used to facilitate carbon fixation in the Calvin cycle, providing sugars for the tree. Evapotranspiration also takes place in trees, allowing for flow of fluids within the xylem, in addition to water loss from the stomata of the leaf, generating atmospheric water and intaking groundwater. For the nitrogen cycle, trees utilize nitrates within the soil, of which the nitrogen content is recycled by decomposing once the tree dies. The nitrates are then replenished by nitrifying bacteria. Denitrifying bacteria, however, create more N2 to enter the atmosphere in order to continue the cycle. Forests also prevent erosion and flooding. According to Montgomery Township Natural Resource Inventory, the approximate area of the forest and the total environmental value are 2,072 hectares and $6.5 million, respectively. I'm sure by now you're thinking, what are we gonna talk about next? Well, that's exactly what we're gonna talk about next. Water. Rivers and lakes are extremely valuable components to any ecosystem. They result from the aggregation of water derived from precipitation. Through providing a dynamic flow of water, rivers provide nutrients to facilitate the survival of aquatic biodiversity. Lakes also provide water for the survival of water-dependent organisms, including a variety of protists and aquatic animalia. Evaporation also redistributes this water content into the atmosphere, permitting a further cycling of water. According to Montgomery Township Natural Resource Inventory, the approximate area of river and lake environments and their total environmental value are 54 hectares and $670.3 thousand, respectively.
When we recap the cost of all these expenses, we come to the sum of $152.8 million from wetlands, $12.03 million from farmlands, $1.962 million from grasslands, $16.68 million from urban areas, $6.5 million from forests, and $670.3 thousand. This comes to a grand total of around $190.6 million overall in ecological value, accounting for all biomes referred to in the change in the global value of ecosystem services and Montgomery Township Natural Resource Inventory.
Alright, now that we know the ecological value of suburban Montgomery, we can go home now, right?
Sure thing, we can. Let's get out of here.
Wait, shit.
Hey Harry, what direction do you think we should turn?
You ruined our shot, dude.
This is my favorite tree. It's called the red cedar. You know, it's known by the scientific name of Juniperus virginiana. And you know, it's also known by several common names as well. Some of these include the eastern red cedar, the Virginian juniper, eastern juniper, red juniper, and also even pencil cedar. You can see by how pencil thin it is. One last name is aromatic cedar also, and it's very aromatic, you know, a lot of aromas. Right in the
2, 1, go.
They are also known as non-mag shoots.
Is it?
I reread the same line. They are also known as non-magnolid dicots. Because spirit oh shoot, I read it again!
Actually, wait, I can go like this, right?
Oh, this is too awkward.
Once upon a time, two trees were having dinner, but one tree decided to hog too much of the nutrients in the soil. One tree said to the other tree, "Let's leave some forest of us. Forests are exceptionally beneficial."
Where'd you leave off at the joke? Leave some for rest of us.
Let's explore it. Let's restart that.
Just go from there, yeah.
Oh.
I don't think I can get from this suit.
Oh, it's leaving. It ran away.
I think I got it moving.